I'm Ryan Newman, and since I started with Indiana Donor Network and Driven to Save Lives, I found out that some people think that they can't be an organ donor. The truth is, anyone can sign up to be an organ donor.
Anyone?
Anyone?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Anyone can sign up to be an organ donor. So don't count yourself out because somebody's counting on you. Go to driventosavelives.org and sign up today.
But my heart's going to you, Ryan.
Love that shirt.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another night of iRacing action here on the National Racing Network. For tonight, it will be the stars and cars of the Indy Pro 2000 Championship, the U.S. Open Wheel C-Class officials. More info on that coming a little bit later on here tonight, but we are taking on one of my favorite road courses in the world, one of the best road courses in the world. Anybody who says otherwise can go shut the hell up. We are at Road America, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. 14 turns of bad fast, and it is going to be, as always, a fantastic show here tonight. My name is Chris Graham, joined in the booth by Mr. James Watson and Mr. Patrick Byrne. And I'll tell you what here, gents. James, will come to you first. Road America, just wildly cool in these cars.
Yeah, it's one of those quintessential American racetracks, quintessential race circuits in the world, honestly. It never fails to put on a good show with these cars. It's got the perfect mix of draft lock, but through the middle part of the lap, you have a lot of kind of difficult corners that you have to deal with. There's very little runoff in a lot of areas, so it makes you think twice about what you're doing when you're sending the dive bomb. So yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, looking forward to it here. And Bizzle, we've tried to do the radio-style broadcast here in the past. It's just tough to do remotely. But we had you down here at Turn 5 as we're picking up Ted Burns. Oh, is Teddy B going to slide it off the racetrack? Oh. That's not the way you want to start your out lap. But, man, this is just the point that I was going to make. This place gets so technical and tricky in these cars. And we're going to see the lap times get faster as they go, because as these tires heat up, the fuel burns off a little. These things are going to get wicked fast and just stay draft locked for about the entire race.
Yeah, I believe it was Tony Kanaan who said it. But in an interview about this track, he said this track rewards balls. Just straight up on the TV interview, this track requires balls to go fast. You go in the turn one, you think you're supposed to brake here, you wait, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, slam on the brakes, bring the car out past the white line, basically kissing the left side tires into the grass, approaching that wall, and that's how you take every corner here. Going into turn number 3, same thing. Turn number 4, same thing. This track requires you to push it to the absolute limit because these straightaways are so long, the elevation changes are so huge, that you need as much momentum as possible. Doesn't matter if you're in a low-powered open-wheel car like this or a high-powered one like an Indy car, you have to keep the momentum up.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one to watch for sure. And I'll tell you what, we have got 2 splits on offer here tonight as Ted Burns takes the green flag on his qualification lap. What that means is an SOF of 35.94. Some of these nights, James, where we run a 24-car single split, it's cool, a lot of cars, a lot of stuff to watch on the racetrack, but from the driver's perspective, they hate it. They want the split, because if you make top split, it's a whole lot more that you're going to pick up in the points department, and we're seeing the effect of that in how this season's standings are playing out.
Yeah, sometimes it's the worst thing when you get a split, because you're like, no, my points. But kind of the flip side, if you're about mid-tier, you kind of don't want it to split, because if you're about like 9/10 on track pace-wise, you're gonna lose iRating, where if it doesn't split, you're gonna gain a little bit. So it's the catch-22. You want it to not split if it's a week that you're not comfortable in your skills. You want it to split if it's a week where you're like, oh yeah, I got this.
Yeah, and quite frankly, we're seeing a little bit of that in appearing in the point standings. Brian Molitor is your point leader, sitting on 1,085 points, 10 starts, 3 wins, 9 top fives. Everett Paddock sitting second in the points, only 8 back, 14 starts, 6 wins, 11 top fives. It could not get tighter between these two at the top of the field. But then you have Alexander Wesley Hazelworth, who's sitting in third. He's 100 points back. It's 150 to Darren Fahey in fourth. You're talking one race, potentially. If you're able to put the car up towards the front of the field, we really could still have a four-way fight for the championship. As cars are starting to get over the timing line, Nicholas Daly moves to the top of the board at lap number 1. Quick time of 2 minutes, .164. We'll see if any of these guys can break into the 1 minute 59s as Ted Burns hops up into position number 2, only 6 thousandths of a second back. A 164 to a 170. Would love to know where you find, 6 thousandths around this place? Good luck. Go ahead, Bizzle.
6 thousandths is found in those balls I was talking about before. You just hit the brakes. A blink of an eye later, going into turn number 1, there's your 6 thousandths of a second.
Yeah, that's
Hit
exactly
two
right.
blinks of an eye later, though, and you're in the sand.
Yeah, that's what we saw Ted Burns doing on the outlap. I mean, it is just such a tricky thing to get lined up. Ryan Labarge going to be third quick. He's at exactly about a tenth of a second back. Everett Paddock and Ari Korkadilos rounding out the top 5 to this point in the qualification session. Looking at our drivers who are in championship contention, I don't see Darren Fahey here in top split tonight. We actually have a handful of drivers that did not make it to top split tonight because of the time change, either forgetting about it or just not being available for the 10 p.m. Eastern start time tonight. So this one's going to be maybe not fully representative of the fields that we're going to see the rest of the season, but we'll take it because that is a whole lot of race cars if we get to 2 splits and we don't have a handful of the regulars with us. Just inside of 2 minutes remaining in the qualification session, Nicholas Daly still your pole sitter. Ted Burns making his way up the hill. Ari Korkadilos moves to the top of the charts. 1 minute 59.850 is the new quick time for Nicholas Daly. Ted Burns, second quick. It's a nice gap, though. 0.169 seconds back. 2 minutes, 0.019. The lap time of record for Ted Burns. Everett Paddock going to clock in to position number 4 behind Korkadilos. Let's see who else we have out here that we can pick up. We'll pick up Rod Eskew in that beautiful Philadelphia Flyers machine, making his way up the final straightaway. He will be the last car to get a lap in the books. Simon Fell moves up to position number 10. And at the checkered flag, Rod Eskew now going to move himself inside the top 10. And just like that, qualifications are over, and it is time to go racing. Of note,
I just hope for the sake of the Flyers car that the Jaws theme doesn't play, because apparently it can't handle hearing the Jaws theme.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about it.
If we go into overtime tonight, we don't have to worry about the Flyers car winning.
I mean, hey, with how bad my team is, this is the only time I'm going to be able to talk smack. Let me have this.
You know, as an Islanders fan, I'm glad I'm out of Flyers territory and now living in Penguins territory. It's not much better, but
it sounds
better
awful.
than Flyers territory.
That sounds absolutely awful. There is nothing worse you could be than a Penguins fan. But let's quit screwing off about ice hockey here, and we'll talk about our starting grid for tonight's races. We have 13 cars separated by, quite frankly, not a whole lot here as we wait for the last couple of cars to get out onto the starting grid, but they will be led to the green by a couple of downforce racing cars. Nicholas Daly in the number 3 alongside of Ted Burns in the number 1. Row number 2 tonight, we'll have Ari Korkadilos in the 5 alongside of the TNT Racing in well, I guess working with, paired up with, whatever, Downforce Racing, number 2 of Everett Paddock. Only 0.3 of a second separating the top 4. Ryan LaBarge and Carl Lemkool on row number 3. LaBarge piloting the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, number 8. Lemkool will be running the Downforce Racing colors on his number 6. 4th row tonight will have the law firm Alexander Wesley Hazelworth alongside of Frisky Frankie, Frank Wynn, piloting the number 7. Shout out to anybody that might be watching our feed and Frank's stream over there on Twitch. Mobin Khan in the Dr. Dauber Echelon Simsport number 11 on the inside of row number 5. To his outside will be that Philadelphia Flyers number 10 of Rod Eskew. Row 6 for tonight's race will be the 13 of Simon Fell in the TNT Shock number 11. Number 13 in position number 11. And to his outside, the 12 and 12th, that'll be the Homestead Coffee Tales from Rukon Schaefer Oil, entry belonging to Wes Shire. All alone on the final row of the grid, the PPG Paint Shell V-Power number 9 of Jason Miller. 13 cars for 12 laps here around Road America. Out of turn number 2, under the Sargento Cheese Bridge. I will say, objectively, the better of the 2 bridge sponsors, at least in terms of quality of product here. Oh, well, we do have the Corvette Bridge, too, don't we?
I mean, you're still not wrong.
As someone who Corvettes for a little while, yeah, I'd still go with Sargento, and I don't even eat cheese.
Yeah, this is the king of the bratwurst. Says the Johnsonville bratwurst is not the top pick amongst the quality of product here.
I actually had a Johnsonville brat for dinner tonight, and it wasn't terrible. It was better than just a generic hot dog, but it wasn't as good as like a true actual brat, either from like a brat stand or one of State Street Brats. I'll give them the plug. They're out of here in Wisconsin.
And this is why you come to NRN, folks.
That is exactly right.
Analysis.
Bingo. Hard-hitting analysis and obscure food recommendations. If you want any more, let us know in the comments. We will do our best to provide you with the information as we may have it available. Now down...
I mean, with how long this pace lap is, we have to fill the air somehow.
That is exactly right. Through the carousel, I don't think we can see these guys go too wide through here, but I think we saw it a couple of seasons ago with David Porcelli and Carter Lundy. That goes back to the balls comment, though, Bizzle. I mean, you've really got to be gutsy.
Yeah, and we've seen, I remember a couple years ago, we saw a real funky start here because the pace car dives in so early, it gives the leader a huge margin where they can start.
That's a great point. I mean, Nicholas Stanley will have the option, not quite from the bottom of the hill, but not too far up. The pace car makes that turn onto the pit lane. It's going to be crazy. In fact, I think we saw Lundy and Porcelli go too wide through the carousel, all the way down here through the kink, and through turn 13, side by side. We can only hope that we see that kind of action tonight, but they will be packed up in the draft. And James, that's a big thing here. If you get more than a second or so back, your race is going to be in big time trouble.
Yeah, you basically got to be perfect, especially with the pace that our front row has.
AJ Camargo checking in saying the more you know. Yes, I believe us talking about bratwurst stands as well. It's getting me hungry, but pace car is off. They are under the control of Nicholas Daly. When he decides to go, he and Downforce Racing teammate Ted Burns on the front row. Green flag goes in the air. We are underway. It's a good start for Daly. He's going to easily clear the lead into turn number 1. Pick up the shot from the blimp view. Side-by-side battle for second between Corcadilos and Ted Burns. Teddy B has to back out of it ever so slightly. That's going to allow Frank Wynn to make the move on Carl Lemkool. quickly through turn number 2. Everybody getting single file. Looks like we're going to be clean and green early on here. Only for a moment. Corcadillo's going to pull out a line, make the dive down into turn number 5. Not quite able to make the pass, and quite frankly, is going to put him into a pretty ugly spot here, having to battle Ted Burns.
Yeah, it's always sketchy trying to go by there.
Especially on the cold tires. I mean, these things are rocks until they get a little bit of warmth into them. Once they get them up to temperature, they grip up, and you can really start to work with the race car. But this first lap or so, it can be a little bit sketchy how you're going to get the throttle down.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. You really need to have faith in your car and your skill set. Otherwise, it could go very bad.
Starting to break away from Everett Paddock. Burns inside of Corcadillos. He'll get that pass made at Canada corner. Of note there, Everett Paddock not able to gain a whole lot of time. He's sitting right about 1 second back. He's going to have to use the toe here down the front straightaway. We could see a 3-car breakaway decide this race.
Yeah, everyone seems to stay in the draft here coming into turn number 1 down that huge front straightaway.
One of the worst accidents that IndyCar has seen in the modern era took place there in 1991. I don't think there's any footage of the incident, but A.J. Foyt was buried basically up to his waist when the throttle stuck and he had no brakes at the end of the front straightaway. Over the gravel trap, cleared the tires and the wall, and the car just buried itself in the soft ground behind turn 1. A huge rehab recovery for Supertex. And of course he didn't miss the 92 Indy 500.
I'm not sure if you cut off all his limbs that he would still miss the 92 Indy 500.
I'm fairly certain if he was dead, he'd still find some way to compete in it from beyond the grave.
You know what? AJ Foyt is a guy, I mean, you talk about a cat has 9 lives. AJ Foyt's got a whole lot more than that. He survived being attacked by killer bees twice.
Yeah, AJ's one of those guys where death has to sneak up on him to get him.
I still have to nail my picture to have him sign it.
Yes, you do.
It's been, what, 2 years since I bought that from his art collection?
Or we're going to have to go out to the Speedway this year sometime during the month of May to see if we can get Supertex to put an autograph on that one. But end of lap number 2 coming up quickly. Nicholas Daly, Ari Corcadillos battling for the second position. Here, go on board with Ari Corcadillos. I think this was originally just going to be like the 360 roll bar cam, but I think the AJ Camargo nailed it. This is the Exorcist cam. Spin your head all the way around. Oh my goodness! Oh, that's tight off the corner. Wow, what a save by Nicholas Daly.
That was the only thing that nearly spun.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. Corcadillos now up to position number 2, and Nicholas Daly is going to be charging, and these guys are now about 1.2 seconds back at Ted Burns. Granted, Teddy B doesn't have any draft help out front, but they're really close to being outside of draft range.
Yeah, I think that's why we're about battling. You just have to stay in line and hope you can stay in line.
Top 8 all in line. The gap's about 3.3 seconds here as we'll get the comment from AJ Camargo. Spin that camera. Right round, baby, right round, like a record. I gotta stop hitting the right button when I go to pull the graphics down. Top 8 have broken away. Mob and Conrad Eskew are going to be, gosh, about a half second apart for position number 9. Same thing between Jason Miller and Wes Shire. They're about a half second apart for 11th and 12th. We're going to kind of stay up here towards the front of this one. Does he feel like you have to stay in line? Well, maybe not, because he's going to pull the inside look into turn 5, get that pass completed. No real shot at the crossover there for Corcadilos either. But now Ted Burns up to 1.6 seconds out.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised. Like, I think Ted might be gone.
Very well could be, and we had some interesting discussions on the setup front that even the guys who are a little bit better in the setup building department than I am, which is all of them, were commenting when Ted Burns put it out there publicly that he's running, what, A2, A3, A2 on his wings at a lot of these places, and not the A1, A1 that you would think you could run here. That was really interesting to a lot of people because that shows a difference in setup philosophy that maybe we haven't completely touched on.
Yeah, I don't know if I hate that way because, you know, you really do need the downforce through the middle section because otherwise the front just skates and you have to go for it. And any time that you would get from running lower downforce off the straightaway, you would lose basically because just couldn't get through the corners preceding the straightaway is all that good, and you end up losing more time than you really be gaining.
And I'll tell you what, we just saw a pretty good example there. Everett Paddock, one car going way off to the outside. That's going to be Everett Paddock spinning.
Oh!
Paddock's off the racetrack at turn number 2. Oh my goodness. Let's take a look here. I was just about to sing the praises of Everett Paddock. Oh, he just got the shove from Corcadilos.
He got Punterino.
Please no Punterino. And now Everett Paddock back to the 12th position and 10 seconds back of the race leader. You almost wonder, does Corcadilos have some damage on the front end of that race car from the contact? You can see it right on the nose. Just a little bit, right at the tip of the nose.
Yeah, but I think it's just the tip. Insert jokes here. I don't really think the actual wing itself has any damage. It seems like he's losing ground, which if he did have any sort of damage on the wing itself, he'd have a peer review. But since it looks like he's staying up in the grab of the line, I think he might have got away from there. Perfect punting.
Yeah. Now, this does put 3 downforce racing cars nose to tail-ish, at least in line in the scoring column. And Burns, Nicholas Daly, and Carl Lemkool. They'll be followed by Corcadilos. Not much really going on there. The next battle we're going to have is between Frank Wynn and Brian Labarge. Out the back of Labarge's machine there, you got to look at Alexander Wesley Hazelworth. just up ahead, Frank Wynn. Now, in this situation here, Bizzle, do you feel like you have to stay in line, and maybe even hearing it there, a little bit of a back off the throttle, just so you're not passing Frank Wynn into turn 5 and trying to use the draft to its fullest ability?
Yeah, turn 5 is a very tempting opportunity to pass because of the hard braking zone, but you have so many slow corners afterwards where you're going to be fighting side by side with them, and you're going to lose those cars in front. You almost have to make the move down the front stretch in these lower powered cars.
Big dive into the corner there by Lamar. You see how much ground he gains. A little bit different line through the carousel as well. Seeing if that slide wide is going to open up the door here for Hazelworth. Hazelworth kind of doing the good teammate thing. I mean, they're not teammates, but stay in line, use that draft. Labarge really has to back it down there through turn 14. Gonna open the gap right back up again. Carl Lemkool sets a new fastest lap of the race, and Lemkool is catching up to teammate Nicholas Daly. That pass there, James, it almost feels kind of swap draft-esque. You know you're going to have the run, so use it, get ahead, and then immediately tuck in front of or the guy behind you gets in line. You can almost use that as a swap draft there down at the end of turn 1.
Yeah, you're not going to really be able to use it on any track. This is one of the few tracks that you can. It does work well. And personally, I've never really been able to get it to work all that well.
Well, just past the halfway point of this race, and we can't totally count these guys out just yet because Nicholas Daly has cut the gap down to 1 second even behind teammate Ted Burns. So Daly, Lemkool, and Corcadillos are starting to make up ground. Even if they only eat a couple of tenths a lap, you still have enough time there that you're going to catch Ted with about 1 to go. He's going to have to fall in line behind Ari Corcadillos. We see the favor get returned here. And Bizzle, does that make you a little bit nervous when if you're in Lemkool's shoes, knowing, hey, if this guy gets around me, I have to worry that the bumper might be coming? Because you saw what happened to Everett Paddock.
Yeah, you definitely have to be worried, especially if he's being incredibly aggressive. You know he wants to win. You want the win too. So does every other driver in this field. But you've seen he's not too against using that bumper. So maybe you're going to be a little more cautious around him.
Gap in the front now down to 0.6 of a second. Nicholas Daly catching Ted Burns in a hurry. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I don't see either of these two guys on the front page of the leaderboard. I'm sorry, correct that. Ted Burns currently in the 10th position, but he only has 5 weeks counted. I don't think we can say Ted Burns is out of this championship yet. He's sitting on 621 points, James. But he has 3 races that are going to score late in the season that could potentially be drop weeks for other people.
Yeah, not exactly what you want to hear if you're the rest of the competition, knowing that his points can get better.
Yeah, I would say mildly terrifying in a lot of respects because, we could see Ted Burns run off 5 straight wins to end this season. And at that point, then it's almost like the championship is really his for the taking. He has, let's see, what's the number on the season? 9 starts, 6 wins, 8 top 5s. He's led 75 of 124 laps completed. Now that he's off the road and his normal, I guess we'll say real world job is tuning race cars. But now that he's not traveling, the summer race season's over, he's going to be here every week. This could be crazy how tight this championship gets just in the next couple of weeks. Here with Ted Burns as we are working lap number 9 of 12.
Nicholas Daly is now starting to put the pressure on Ted Burns.
Yeah, and
he's not close enough to make a move, but he's definitely got to be getting in Ted Burns' heads at this point.
Yeah, Nicholas Daly's best lap was his last lap, 2 minutes, .152. Last lap for Ted Burns, 2 minutes, .460. A couple of seasons ago, I would have said these guys will probably finish this way. Nicholas Daly has shown so much development in these cars, James, that quite frankly, he is as quick as Teddy B is, or at least really, really close to it.
Yeah, they're almost essentially what A would be at this point. Oh boy, here we go.
There's the pass for the lead, and Nicholas Daly claims the top spot with a new quick lap time, 1 minute 59.912. My goodness. Now, if they keep doing this, how likely is it that they're going to bring Carl Lempool and Ari Corcadilos back into the fight as we see Teddy B claim the spot right back at turn 5? You can almost get away with, I think, making these passes and kind of battling a little bit. Because if you do it right, you're not necessarily going to lose that much time.
Yeah, and this is a healthy gap they have, so it's not really a worry quite yet.
Yeah, especially with 3 to go, and the gap now sitting at 2.8 seconds between Nicholas Daly and Carl Lempool, or excuse me, between Ted Burns, your race leader, and Carl Lempool. Ted able to open the gap back up to about 3 seconds. Carl Lempool, Ari Corcadillo still nose to tail. So's this group: Frank Wynn, Brian Lavarge, Alexander Wesley Hazelworth, and Movin Khan. Everett Paddock just not able to make up any time. Still 13 seconds back, running in position number 11. Trouble last time by for Simon Fell. Ron Eskew also having an off-track issue. Those cars will be scored in the 12th and 13th positions. We are down to 2 to go, and Carl Lempool, Ari Corcadilos nose to tail. The gap at the front is 6/10. great battle here for a second between Lemcool and Corcadilos. You know what? This is a great question coming into the comments from the AJ Camargo. Where do you guys want to be the last lap? P1 or P2 in the draft?
We've seen it in the past. I want to be P2 because I have a feeling we're going to get another photo finish here tonight. Maybe not. Ted Burns pulling away from Nicholas Daly once again, but
I think it's a question of where in the lap are you asking that question?
And where are you in comparison to your competition? Because, yeah, being second is all well and good, but if you're not, like, right up on the rear attenuator coming out of the final corner, then you're kind of SOL. So you kind of want to be the one controlling everything.
It's almost like the guy in second potentially holds the advantage because you'll make the pass into turn 1, take the lead. You're going to get passed back at turn 5, but then you're going to have the chance to pull out and make the run up the hill in the drag race here. But it discounts the how many other times are you going to swap the position as Nicholas Daly again goes fastest lap of the race. White flag is out. 1 lap to go, and the gap is 0.6 of a second and shrinking.
He needs the lap of his life here.
He's got it down to inside half a second as they get to turn 5. And this is where I would guess now at this point, oh, we've got one going around.
LaBarge.
Let's see. Yeah, it looks like it might have been Brian LaBarge having an off track.
Khan with an issue too.
Yeah, Mobin Khan may have been involved in that one. He's back to the 12th position.
Nicholas Daly looks like he got through the hairpin incredibly well.
I think it was Ari Corcadilos that may have had the issue because he's now 9 seconds back. We'll take a look at that one on the replay in the post race, but now where does the move come? It's not into Canada corner.
If it's not in Canada corner, it's going to be in the final corner.
Through turn 13, the gap's at 1/4 of a second.
This is how close Lundy was the last time.
Ooh, I don't know. I think he might be too far behind.
They're going to drag race it up the hill under the twin checkers. Does Daly make a move? No! Not quite. Ted Burns gets the win at Road America. Nicholas Daly coming home 7/100ths of a second back in the second position. And Carl Lemcool will round out the Downforce Racing podium. Teddy B, Ted Burns gets the race win here tonight in another fantastic Indy Pro 2000 show with Road America. Now let's take a look and see what happened here on the final lap. It looked like may have been an issue initially for Ari Corcadilos. Tried to get into Lemcool, spins it around. And then it looks
wow, and
like,
then you saw Khan go off and spin it to the inside.
Yeah, it looks like potentially Mobin Khan may have just had the issue.
Yeah, it might not have been an issue for LaBarge. It just might have been him getting past.
Oh, yeah, Mobin Khan spinning all by himself. That was tough, and he has to... Oh, well, he's, I think, able to get the car spun back around. It just does not want to turn left. Well, and quite frankly, that's not the easy way to go around Road America here, is without the car being able to make a left-hand turn. But oh my goodness, what a race. Let's take a look and show you your final race results. Ted Burns by 78 thousandths of a second over Nicholas Daly. Carl Emkuhl coming home third, 3.5 seconds back. Ari Korkadilos recovers from the spin on the last lap to finish fourth, and Frank Wynn picking up a top 5. Alexander Wesley Hazelworth in 6th, Brian Labarge 7th, Everett Paddock in the 8th position, Jason Miller 9th, and Wes Shire picking up a top 10 here this evening. Rod Eskew, Simon Fell, and Mobin Khan will complete tonight's race results. My goodness, what a show we got out of these guys tonight. As always, man alive, Bizzle, will come to you first on this one as we wait for some of our drivers to get here for the Victory Lane interviews. You almost had it nailed spot on. I think it was just a case of, like James said, Daly was just a little bit too far back out of the final corner.
Yeah, if he was just a touch closer, and I guess we'll bring it back to what we were talking about at the beginning. If he just put a little more balls into the final corner, close the gap a little bit on exit, could have been in draft range and could have gotten it. But that's what you get here at Road America with that uphill to the start-finish line. You're either there or you aren't to make the move. It's a drag race when it comes down to it. You've got a quarter mile from the final corner to that start-finish line, full throttle, and see who comes out on top.
Yeah, that's exactly right. As we'll pick up our race winner tonight here, Mr. Ted Burns, and get him up into the booth here for the Victory Lane interview. And Ted, congratulations. Just, absolutely epic drive here tonight. But it was not necessarily easy throughout this one because Nicholas really was starting to challenge you there late. How big of a concern was he over those last couple laps?
We were kind of joking about it in the voice chat. I was like, I'm going to tow you to the fast lap there, Nick. But he's quick. I couldn't make any mistakes for sure. So it was definitely a tough battle to the end. Conditions were changing a little bit, especially with the wind direction. It just makes some of your corner entries so different around here. So it was just trying to stay on top of the car, stay on top of the conditions, and bring it home to the end. And luckily, Downforce Racing cars were fast tonight, and so we were able to lock out the podium. So that was awesome for the team.
Now, you shared a little bit of the secret sauce potentially setups-wise in the TNT Discord, and it's caused a bit of consternation with people going, wait, what? That can't be right. How much of that and being able to adapt to the weather conditions are those things that you do a little bit different setup-wise? I would imagine, and quite frankly, it's a little bit more downforce than what we expected. I would think that makes it a little bit easier to make those adjustments.
Yeah, for sure. And this setup, especially on Road America, it's our home track, so it's going to be incredibly optimized. So it's not just the wings that are making this fast in a straight line. I'll say that. But we are put on a little bit more downforce to get the balance right where we need it to make sure we can have the run out of the high speed corners, like out of the carousel, the turn 3, turn 14s, and just make sure it's balanced in all the heavy brake zones when we go into like turn 5, 8, Canada corner, and make sure the car is just really balanced right on the edge through there. And I think that really showed. We had a bunch of cars up there in the top in qualifying. And obviously lock out the podium there in the race. So it's quick by itself, and it's quick in the draft. And so it's just a lot of work by the team, and working together and just trying to optimize everything we can about the setup. And I think it surprised people that we're not running minimum downforce, but it works.
Well, I would say so. And now we have to kind of pivot forward a little bit here with only 3 races left in the season. You entered the night with only 5 weeks counted. We're in the first of the drop weeks now. You potentially could still win a championship in this thing if you go out and put up performances like you did tonight. How much do you think about that over these next handful of weeks?
I could just take it 1 week at a time because it's really dependent on getting the participation of everyone else out there. Because if we have a couple more big nights like tonight where there's some 200-point races, it's definitely on the table. If it doesn't quite split or something, maybe the points just aren't there to quite run Everett down. Everett's friend of the team, so if he can pull it off and stay up there up front, we'll help that out. Otherwise, just keep taking it, one race at a time, try and rack up as many W's as possible.
All right, buddy. Well, congratulations on picking up another win here this season in the Indy Pro 2000s. And before we let you go, you did some of them already, but make sure you get the rest of those sponsor plugs and thank yous taken care of.
Yep, got to thank Downforce Racing as one fast car, awesome to drive around here. Got to thank you guys for putting on the broadcast. I love watching it, and everyone for coming out for this later night run. So it's awesome to see this many people out here. This late in the evening, just having this much fun at the track. So hopefully that continues the rest of the season.
Absolutely. Thank you much for coming to hang out with us here for a minute, Ted. Congratulations on the win. And now let's bring in teammate Nicholas Daly coming home in the second position. And Nicholas, your car was really stout, and Ted saying he was making the joke that he was going to tow you to the fastest lap, which he did. But how frustrating was it that kind of the gap you would see 6/10, 3/10, 6/10, 3/10. Does that kind of rattle you at all when you're behind the wheel?
No, it's when you're following Ted around the circuit like this, it takes a pretty good effort to even just stay in the draft because he's so consistent every lap. But at first when we were battling, I think with Ari a little bit, the first couple of laps, then he started pulling away, and I was worried that I wouldn't be able to catch back up, but. Yeah, luckily had just enough draft to get close again, but not close enough to make a move for the win.
You had a great view of the contact between Ari and Everett. That was kind of going on, I'm guessing, either right in front of or right behind you into turn 3, I think it was. How does that change how you might race somebody later when hey, this guy, somebody may have already made contact with somebody we consider a teammate. Do you feel like you have to watch your back a little bit?
I get the feeling that maybe Ari didn't know that we were teammates because he was bump drafting me down the straight, which, I don't mind. It helped me get up to closer to Ted a little bit. But, it's just, I watched the replay on that. It's just, kind of unfortunate. He was kind of close on the braking zone, but I think he apologized to Everett for that, which it's a shame it happened to Everett. I know he's going for the championship, so he needed every point he could get, but I guess these things happen.
You put on a heck of a show here, because at one point we thought you were just out of it, and doing all the work to catch back up to Everett was really impressive. Congratulations on the runner-up finish here tonight. And before we let you go, make sure you do all the sponsor plugs and thank you shout-outs you want to get in.
Sure, yeah. As always, thanks to Downforce Racing for setup work and the help we get from working together. And thank you guys for putting on a great broadcast. And thank you to all the viewers for watching. Thanks.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you much. We appreciate you coming to hang out with us here up in the booth for a minute. And now let's bring in Carl Lemkool, who may have had the biggest adventure of the night for the guys who ended up on the podium. Carl, you had Ari absolutely hounding you over the last part of this race. How was that behind the wheel? Because it looked kind of stressful to us up here in the booth.
Yeah, definitely a great race overall. Like you said, very intense, but, cool heads prevailed at the end, and yeah, he was even pushing me around a little bit. So, I even learned tonight that bump drafting works in these cars.
That's something that I think some of the oval guys may take exception to and say, wait a minute, you can't bump draft these things anymore. But how is that? Because you ordinarily think you can't bump draft an open wheel car. But I guess there's just enough nose overhang to meet the attenuator of the car in front that I guess you can get away with it.
Yeah, must be something to do with that. I'm always afraid of wing damage as the pusher, but Ari proved me wrong. So if I ever do it again, it will be very, very, very carefully.
That might be the understatement of the year. Man, Carl, congratulations. A good points night for you as well. Entering the night 6th in the championship standings. You got to be feeling pretty confident here that you could be looking at a top 5, if not a podium, in the final standings.
Yeah, that would be absolutely fantastic. I actually, unfortunately, dropped to Division 2, so I'm also looking to capture that after I blew it last time. So, circling back for that, and a top 5 would be great to boot. Certainly.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. That's a good championship battle there with Darren, Brian, yourself, and Frank involved in that one too. We're looking forward to follow that over the next 3 weeks. But congratulations on the podium tonight, and make sure you do all those sponsor plugs and shout outs that you want to get in before we let you out of here.
Yeah, sure thing. Big night for Downforce. Lots of work has been put into our setups, and that really paid off tonight. So thanks to the team for all the hard work. Congrats to the team on the podium sweep. That's really cool. Thanks to them for the down setups as always, and really feel for Everett tonight. But hoping he'll be there next time.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a little bit of a heartbreaker there for sure to see the incident happen there to Everett Paddock. But I'll tell you what here, guys, as we go back to the live look, Bizzle, we'll come back to you first on this one as I'll hit the right button this time. This race was kind of everything we expect out of the Indy Pros. Good battles throughout the field. We got to see a little bit of the fight between Frank and Alexander and Brian. Those guys almost like fighting a best-in-class battle, if you will.
Yeah, the top two just absolutely ran away for everyone, and that happens here at these draft lock tracks where if you get a little bit of a breakaway, you're not going to get it back. There's no cautions here on these road courses, so unless the leaders wreck themselves, you're kind of SOL and fighting for third or fourth place.
Yeah, and James, now we kind of we mentioned the pivot ahead here. If you're everybody inside the top 10 in points, I would tend to think you have to be at least a little bit scared that Ted Burns has the ability at least to start scoring more weeks. And man, who knows? This championship is still very much up for grabs.
Yeah, you're terrified. You're like, oh no, not this guy. You're gonna have to really step up your game these last couple weeks if you're gonna have a shot.
Yeah, points have updated, and Ted Burns still showing in the 10th position, sitting on 685, so he is still several hundred points back. But the stat line is ridiculous. 10 starts, 7 wins, 9 top 5s, and 86 laps led of 136 laps completed. This field is going to have to get their butts in gear here if they want to have a shot at this thing and keeping Ted Burns off the top step of the podium. But that's going to wrap up our broadcast week here on the National Racing Network. Coming up next week, another full 4 nights of broadcast excellence, kicking off with the Silver Crowns at Kansas Speedway, 8:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That will kick off week number 10 of the iRacing season or schedule for 2023 season 4. TNT Shock Series heads off to Phoenix on Tuesday night. That'll be 9:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Round 7 of 10 in their championship season. Sim Racers Club making a visit to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway on Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Round 9 of their fall season championship. And then the U.S. Open Wheel Cars head off to the streets of Belle Isle for the Indy Pro 2000 Grand Prix of Detroit on week number 10. Going to be a great week of racing action coming up next week, and we're looking forward to bringing it all to you. But now it's time for us to get the heck on out of here. For James Watson, Patrick Byrne, and everybody here at the National Racing Network that makes these shows happen, my name is Chris Graham. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with us, and we will talk to you all on Monday night. Enjoy the weekend. Have a great night, everybody.
Mm-hmm.